Hello everyone, this is TytarJunior. Christmas has come early this year. This video is what I believe Season 4 should be and what the DLCs could bring to the game that I feel the game is currently lacking, even though I feel the game is 10 out of 10. Or what I think it should look like. Let me just clarify something real fast. I've been playing the Anno games since 1602 AD. I've been playing since the original. I'm a huge fan of the Anno series. 1800 it's a fantastic sequel. It is amazing. It is everything you want Anno to be. So this is what I believe should be Anno 1800 Season 4 Pass. This is concept art. Obviously, this is not real. This is something that I put together. These are just pictures I found online. I don't know what they're actually from, but I figured they kind of fit the art style. I called the first one Warfronts, second one Legislation, and then Endless Frontiers for the last one. Anno 1800 Season 4, Warfronts. So all of this just populated. Let me just kind of tell you what I'm thinking. So this is something that the fans have been talking about for a long time, and I will say before we even start talking about this, I know that the game is probably set up a certain way where troops are probably not the easiest thing to add. I'm telling you right now, if you could figure that out, you could even charge us extra for it. I feel like people would really, really like that. Some people probably prefer just the naval battles, but having ground invasions would be amazing. That'd be the final thing that this game needed, and just a little bit extra military stuff to make the game 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, really. So, Warfronts. The DLC is focused on combat and land combat with new resources like gunpowder, muskets, swords, and horses. It adds land combat only if the DLC is enabled when you choose to play it. Shoreline cannon towers and big betties cannot attack land units, so now you must also defend your land. So if there's open shoreline, you can drop some troops off. Obviously, you're going to have some Saving Private Ryan moments where boats are just getting gunned down as they show up and troops are getting mowed down as they show up. But that would be so epic. It would be absolutely epic. Land invasions will be useful if shoreline defenses are too strong, and you blitz your opponent by dropping off land soldiers must be carried by military ships. The DLC adds 2 new steam warships and 2 new sail warships for variety with a slew of new military items. I do feel the one area that this game is lacking is military style gameplay. It's great with the boats, it's great with the big betties and the cannon towers, but it just feels like there should be a little bit more as far as military goes. Even if land invasions aren't a thing, I do think that there needs to be a little bit more military stuff. And again, all of this is just to make your guys' game 11 out of 10, not 10 out of 10, because you guys are pretty much 10 out of 10 at this point. Soldiers light buildings ablaze, creating ruins, and as they destroy things, and they can carry the plague. So if you choose to target your opponent's hospitals and they can't afford to rebuild them and they're carrying the plague, that might be a pretty scary thing. That might be a pretty scary opponent you've got there. I did skip a point. Able-bodied men pulled from workers' workforce. The draft seen on the next slide will give you 1 free soldier per soldier you train. So if any of you have played, a good example would be Battle for Middle-earth 2 and number 1. The units come in battalions rather than being controlled by 1 at a time. It'd be really cool if it was controlled by battalions of maybe 15 or 20. So that way it looks like a bigger scale invasion. It's not just clicking one guy at a time. That'd be kind of anticlimactic for how big these cities and how detailed these cities can get. If a naval attack ends but the city has no way to defend against land units, the land units can still conquer and occupy the land. So that's another great benefit to having a land invasion is if all your boats get totally destroyed, your ground troops can occupy the land and you can still retain it. With this DLC, new production buildings would be added: gunpowder manufacturer, musket manufacturer, swordsmith, and horse farms. And those would all be resources as mentioned before. I think that this type of a DLC has a lot of potential. And again, I think it's going to be a really difficult thing for them to pull off to do land invasions, because with the way the game is coded, it's probably not set up to do that. And I understand that. If it's possible, you guys should totally do this. I'm telling you right now, the fans are willing to buy more seasons of DLC. We promise you we are. And that would conclude it for Warfronts as far as the ideas go. Let's proceed to the next one. Legislation. DLC focused on laws and diplomacy. So for those of you who have played the Anno 1602 game, you guys probably remember by the screenshots right here, or if you haven't yet, take a look over here. There is a tax rate in the game, and I seriously, especially with riots and happiness as a meter in this game, I miss the tax rate. That would be an amazing feature to have. Get a little bit of extra income, not have to use propaganda, use tax rate instead. Oh, I would love to have a feature like that return. Brings back tax rate to the game, preferably for all classes, but if it's isolated to one, isolated to investors. The happier your people, the lower the work conditions, the more happiness needs are fulfilled, like the rum and the, not electricity, rum, beer, things like that, the more you can tax your people. Which I think is great, because if you fulfill all of those needs, you can tax them a little bit more. Man, that's great. Newspaper propaganda, add some more. Fund your government. Higher tolerance to high taxes. And I think taxes can be better than consumerism, because consumerism convinces them to spend more money. But if you have a higher tax rate on, say, maybe investors, or a higher tax rate on a certain workforce, you could theoretically, if you're not supplying any happiness needs to your artisans or to your workers, but you raise their tax threshold, you could theoretically get more money out of those people without needing to fulfill the happiness of those people. There are some benefits to having this as a feature. So you could use influence, or you can use a new currency called legal points, or, that name is subject to change, of course. It is to be used on policies and laws. Import and export tariffs get added into the game as an option on docklands and general trade. If you're ranking highest on economic points compared to everybody else, when you're kind of comparing you compared to your opponent, who's higher on the economic ladder, it shows you a bar chart. The AI will tolerate it. Otherwise, they will not trade if you put tariffs in place. You can tariff specific players or a specific resource. This is great if you're a sole producer of a single resource. That's amazing. So if you're the first one who gets to steam carriages, or if you have a monopoly on all the copper, you have all the zinc and all the copper in the entire map, including sunken treasures, you can tariff your resource. And if you have a strong military to hold hostage of that material against the AI or other players, you can charge for it. And I think you deserve, if you're playing that well, you deserve to collect a premium, if you so choose, against your opponents for that. And if a player has become really dependent upon you and you're just absolutely kicking their butt, this could be a little bit win more, so you might not want to have this, but it'd be great against the AI. You can tariff specific players, specifically specific players. It'd be really cool if you can enact different laws. So here are just some examples I thought of. So martial law reduces riot chance by 10 to 50%, depending on how many legal points you put in, for up to 60 minutes. So if you have a riot problem, or if you're just doing crazy work conditions across the board and everyone's pissed off, you can do martial law and put that into place and reduce the chance of rioting for up to 60 minutes. I think that'd be really cool. The draft reduces happiness by general populace by 5 to 10. I don't know what would be balanced, but you get an extra soldier battalion per soldier you train, and the extra soldier does not take up any workforce. This is great because it plays into the entire season pass of season 4. It plays into Warfronts DLC. I think this would play nicely together. This would be really cool. Espionage, spy on another player. The more legal points invested into this law, the higher chance you will discover an item that they have in their possession and you get a copy. I think that's really cool. Maybe I'm crazy. I think that's pretty cool. Higher taxes, set the cap to whatever tax rate you would like past the 50% mark. So with legislation, you can do that, but your people aren't going to be happy, of course. When you first unlock legislation, you can choose republic, democracy, or monarchy. This cannot be changed unless done with excessive legal points. If you want to change it after the fact, you just have to invest a lot of legal points to change it, just like a real government. So republic, it's based on happiness. You must propose laws to enact them. Similar to flattering an opponent, it tells you likely, very unlikely, or very likely. Zero chance at passing, similar to when you're talking to an AI and you flatter them, it says very likely that they're going to be impressed by it. And doing this just, I threw out some balancing numbers. I don't know if this is balanced or not. It makes the laws cost 1/4 what they normally would because you are trying to pass them through random chance like that. But it's a great way to do it, so that way you don't have to spend as many legal points and you could get more things passed by using a republic. A democracy, entirely random laws enacted by the people. They will be in favor of the citizens and cost no legal points, and it boosts happiness. So they could pass some laws that you don't necessarily like, and it's more, honestly, it's random chance entirely. And the AI, your citizens, are choosing what to pass and what not to pass. Maybe they can pass a law that makes it so you can't have work conditions greater than 25% or greater than 10% or greater than 0. Or they could pass a law that says, the Workers Act, which makes all workforce reduced by 10% workforce across the board because they want to be happy. It could backfire on you, but it increases happiness because the people are voting on what they want and it costs no legal points to do so. The monarchy, normal legal point cost, you can enact any law at any time without question. I think the legislation one would be really, really cool paired with the Warfront one, especially with the draft. I really do think these two DLCs would really take this game over the top, and I hope you guys agree. And if you do, leave a like on the video and subscribe. We're close to 100 subscribers. Thank you. Next slide. What better way to top off Anno 1800, especially with all the DLC, with other than Endless Frontiers? I called it Endless Frontiers because what is best about games, what keeps games going forever? Endless Frontiers, literally. If you give players a true sandbox mode, because the sandbox mode we have is sandbox, but it's not sandbox in the true definition of sandbox. So hear me out. I think this would be a great DLC, and I don't think it'd be too difficult to add either. DLC focused on free world building and map creation. And no, not through mods. I'm talking about specifically DLC. A DLC with true sandbox mode as a separate mode. It doesn't need to be called sandbox mode. You get what I mean. Where you own every single island in every single zone and you have no AI, no win conditions. It's basically a beautified building mode. That is one thing I feel like this game is lacking. I really do feel that it's lacking. Because sometimes, let's take The Sims for example, if any of you have played The Sims. There are many times I just cram that cheat code so I can make the most beautiful house I can possibly come up with. And I want to do the same thing with a city. That's not going to ruin the experience because there's a gratification at being able to play the entire game, suffer through the work conditions, and try to balance the money, the workforce, all that stuff. That's the core game. That's what people are coming here for. But having a beautify mode where you just come in and have unlimited everything and there's no stakes, no consequences, and you're just building the most beautiful city. I can't tell you how much time I personally would spend in the New World or the Arctic or in Bessa, just beautifying that stuff. I hardly spend time there because I'm so focused on the old world. And it gives greater value to those other maps, those other DLCs. Imagine a player who has every single island and has unlimited resources, and they've beautified the ever-living heck out of every single island that you can find. And every single island is a piece of its own artwork. It's got a zoo, museum, whatever it is you want. One's a Docklands one. There's so much you can do with this. And yes, I do agree. It's especially impressive to see artwork when you have a player who did it the hard way. But think about how many players would appreciate a mode like this and how many players would appreciate, I don't have to spend 20, 50, 100 hours to get to the stage where I have unlimited resources pretty much, and I don't have to balance workforces. I can just make a city and I don't need to supply their needs. I don't have to do anything like that. All I have to do is make a beautiful city and take pictures and do Control-Shift-R and walk around town. Map Designer Mode, another new mode where you place islands. You can rotate them, place them, and choose between them. This will obviously disable all quest lines if you play your custom map. So, in 1602 AD, there was a world editor in there, and it was amazing. It allowed you to do a lot of stuff, and how cool would it be if, as you see in this screenshot, map type custom was an option. So in a separate mode, you can place these islands, and in 1602 AD, they just came out as a square, and it was just based on the size, and it had a question mark on there because it would randomly select based on the size you chose which island it was going to be, and it randomly rotated them too. So you'd make the placement and then you'd choose, it would just randomly generate it for you. I think that'd be really, really cool. So that way you can set stuff up the way you like if you prefer to play that way. And imagine you send your map type to your friend and say, hey, try out my map type. It's super hard, or it's super easy, or I like the layout. It's way better than anything that's offered right now. Now, I don't know how difficult that would be with the AI. I imagine they're programmed to just recognize where a warehouse is and then just go over there and attack bases. I think that's how it's programmed, but you never know. Maybe it's based on the island. I imagine it's based off the warehouse though. Individually place resources on islands, or select how many you'd like to populate on an island and have it populate. You can also, if you'd rather, choose how many of a particular resource spawn in the game, and the game populates into the islands for you. This includes fertility. So, as an example, this can create extreme difficulty for those seeking a challenge. Only one island has grain. Only one island has oil. Only one island has gold. So, as an example, if you're in your custom map and you place 10 different islands of varying sizes, and you set in the globals when you're customizing your map, how many islands have grain, and you choose one, you literally have one island that has grain on the entire map. You choose one island has oil, only one has oil. On the opposite end of things, you can create a hyper easy mode where there is immense resources, way more than normal. Guys, personally, I think that these DLCs would be fantastic for a season 4. Again, if you guys agree with me, please leave a like and a comment. And if you guys have other ideas, comment what you think would be great DLC too, because I would love to hear it. I really would. I want this video to act as a discussion, a place of discussion where we can talk about what season 4 could look like if they do a season 4. If you guys like this idea, if Ubisoft likes this idea, and the name of whatever studio it is, I forget the name, I'm sorry, whatever studio it is that's making this game, if you guys like this idea and you happen to see this video, you have 100% permission to take every idea out of here, act like you've never seen this video, act like I don't even exist, and take it for yourself. I just want to see it in the game. I care about the game that much. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I know this was more of a presentation rather than what I usually do, which is playthroughs and things like that. Subscribe. We're very, very close to 100. Got lots of great content coming out. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I'm really excited for more playthroughs going forward and seeing where this channel goes, because it's growing every single day, and I can't thank you guys enough. My name's TytarJunior, and I'll see you later.